To Math 155, Section 9.2, Understanding Interest. So in this lecture video, let's take a look at what we so-called the simple interest. So the simple interest formula I'm going to introduce is the fundamental or the most basic formula for financing loans. Financing loans simply means borrow money. All right. So a lot of times our car loans, credit cards, or even our overdraft protections use the concept of this fundamental formula for financing, okay, called the simple interest formula. Now, the car loans normally is actually calculated in a way such that it's a simple, it's actually called a daily simple interest, okay? So that's why the formula I'm going to introduce is just a very, very basic, okay, fundamental formula. All right, so let's take a look at a couple words real quick regarding to the simple interest. All right, the word interest is referring to the amount charged by the lender for borrow money. So when we borrow money from lenders, we have to pay them interest back plus what we borrowed. So the word principal is referring to the sum of money on which the interest is being charged, or the word principal is referring to the money that we borrow. All right, the interest rate is very interesting here. The interest rate R, okay, is the amount charged to the borrower expressed as a percentage of the principal. So the wording interest rate R is not the same as what's so-called the APR. All right, APR is referring to the rate paid on a loan when the rate is actually based on the actual amount owed for the length of time that is still owed. So, needless to say, the concept of APR is not quite the same as the regular R. All right, but this in this particular section, we are not going to make we're not going to distinguish between the regular R versus our APR. We're going to use them in exactly the same way. Okay, so I just want you to know APR is really not the same as the regular interest rate R, but when we do few example here in a minute, we're going to treat them the same. All right, so what is so-called the APR is the yearly interest rate that is charged for borrowing. Okay, so APR is normally given as percentage per year. APR is annual percentage rate. So the simple interest formula is called I equal to PRT. So I stand for interest, equal to the principal, what we borrow, times the interest rate R, or here in a minute we'll use the word APR here, times the time. All right, the time is usually in years. Okay, it's usually representing year. So if a problem is giving me the t where it's not in year, then I have to convert them into years. Okay. So if we run into it, I will show you how to do that just in a minute. So this first example, determine the simple interest. So this problem wants me to find the simple interest. How do I know to use this particular formula, I equal to PRT, because the wording simple interest. Find the simple interest owed on a $980 for 5 years at a rate of 12.5%. So basically, the 980 is my principal, what I borrowed. 5 year is my T, and my interest rate is R. So to find the interest, all I do is take my principal times the rate times the time. So that will simply be 980 times interest rate 12.5%. In terms of a decimal notation, that will be 0.125 times my time, 5 years. And that will tell me how much interest I will owe. So the simple interest formula, this interest I is a total amount of interest. Okay, it's a one-time interest. Kind of weird saying that, because this interest is actually calculated way ahead of time. Okay, for the duration of 5 years. So for 5 years, the total interest will be 612.5. Okay, one-time interest means your interest only calculated one time only. And the reason why I'm saying that is because if you have credit card interest is actually calculated monthly, once a month. So every month your principal, you know, if the principal what you owe on the credit card changes, then your interest I actually changes every month. Okay. But this particular example, this $612 is the total amount of interest for the entire 5 years. So it's a one-time interest. It's kind of like a one-time interest being computed. All right, this example, a couple deposit $22,000 into an account earning 7% annual interest for 20 years. Calculate the future value of the investment if the interest compounded daily. So this problem shouldn't be here. This problem is a compound interest problem. So this problem will have to go to a different section. Let me just kind of put it right here. Oh, I actually doubled it. Okay, so I do have the same exact problem for the compound interest, which we will introduce. We'll introduce in the next video. So let's take that problem out. Let's take a look at this one. A payday loan is made for 4 weeks, where the amount of interest owed per $100 borrowed is $30. So this problem is saying for every $100 I borrow, I gotta pay them the interest of 30. So 30 is basically your interest for every 100 you borrow. So if we borrow $300, how much do you owe at the end of the 4 weeks? All right. So if I borrow $300, okay, which is if I divide it by 100, that means I borrow $100. Okay. So every $100 I borrow, I gotta pay interest $30. So since I borrowed 3 of those $100, then my interest got to be 30 times 3, which will be $90. Okay, that will be my answer. All right, a payday loan is made for 4 weeks. Okay, we borrowed the entire $300 for 4 weeks. Okay, every 100 I borrow, I got to pay $30. So that means my interest will be $90. The problem never said, it actually said $300 for the entire 4 weeks. It's not for what, the $30 does not depend on the weeks. It depends on how much money you borrow. Now, this next one, we will actually need to know about that weeks. Suppose you wish to borrow $600 for 2 weeks, okay? And the amount of interest you must pay is $10 per $100 borrowed. So if I borrow $600, okay, which means I borrow 6 of those $100, and every $100 I borrow, I gotta pay $10 in interest. So when I borrow 6 of those, that will be 6 times 10. That tell me my interest is gonna be $60. All right. Now, so the question asking, what is the APR at which you borrow the money? So remember now the formula, I equal to principal times rate times time. So this rate R, right now I'm going to treat it the same as my APR. So my entire interest I that I owed for the $600 I borrowed is $60. You know, we need to figure this I first in order for me to find the R. Because out of the 4 items in this formula, I need to know 3 of those in order to find the one missing one. So my P, remember what I borrowed was $600 times the rate times the time. Normally the time got to be in year. Right now, my $600 is only for 2 weeks. So how do I turn 2 weeks into year? That will be 2 weeks out of 52 weeks in a year. So that's how we convert my 2 weeks in terms of a year. Okay, so now let's solve for r. This whole right side of the equal sign is actually one term. So what is 600 times r times 2 over 52? Well, 600 times 2 over 52, 600 times parenthesis 2 over 52 actually tell me this is 23.0 something. So let me convert into a fraction real quick, which is 300 over 13. So what is 600 times r times 2 over 52 is 300 over 13 r. That is equal to 60. So to get r by itself, the only thing I can do is divide both sides by my coefficient. So divide both sides by 30 over 13. So that means my 60 go first, divided by parenthesis 300 over 13. So then my r is going to be 2.6. All right, that's not a percent. That's just a decimal notation. So if I convert my decimal into a percent, that means move my decimal to the right 2 places, then my interest rate r is actually 260%. Okay, that will be my answer. All right, so basically the simple interest formula, I equal to principal times rate times time, is our most basic fundamental interest formula, okay, as far as borrow money concerned. Okay, so in the next lecture video, we're going to talk about another formula, which is called the compound interest formula, which we normally use the compound interest formula for investments or for inflation type of problem. Okay, all right, that will conclude this lecture video on simple interest formula. Thank you for watching.